Hey guys, hello everyone and welcome. I'm Jeneth Blackert and I am joined with my co-host Leonka Reyna, and our guest today is Jennifer Hough. And today we are going to talk about really upgrading your intuition and doing it really so that you embody clarity and confidence throughout your days. So it's an honor to have Jennifer back. She keeps coming back around. Last time we talked about your innate genius, and now I want to really dive deep into really upgrading your intuition. So Jennifer, welcome.
Oh, thank you. It fits perfectly because after all, upgrading your genius has to do with having consistent, ongoing clarity with kind of like what your rational mind doesn't know, And so it's all about your genius, man. So good.
Oh, absolutely. One of the terms that you've used in the past is to talk about really how you go direct with consciousness.
Yeah.
And I know that's very much the start of this conversation because it really includes both pieces. Do you want to start there with a little bit about, and maybe as you do so, bring in your background and it's been so many interviews, I forget to like share that, hey, nobody knows this. So if you could just kind of, entangle that in this conversation, that'd be great.
Sure. I mean, I would say that when I was growing up, I didn't even know that intuition was a thing, honestly. I grew up in a very pragmatic family. My father was an entrepreneur and my mother was a teacher. She was a gym teacher, so she got to teach sex ed. So both of them highly pragmatic, and I was trying to be enough for my parents constantly, which meant that instead of following my intuition or my guidance or getting clarity, I was very much living by what I should do, what I had to do, what I must do, what society said. So, what we're going to talk about today is both the journey to gaining mastery around I'm going to take it beyond intuition. I'm going to call it your cellular knowing. Like,
Mm.
what if we could what if we took the word intuition, which lots of people talk about? Let's quantum leap it to the next level. Let's go into the thriving operating system where it's actually an embodied state of consistent knowing, where you live in walking, living, breathing clarity every step of the way. And I have a story to share about that, but this is not the way I was living. I was going through high school, getting straight A's, doing the logical, rational thing like most everybody. and well, a lot of people weren't getting straight A's, but trust me, I wasn't getting straight A's because I was smart. I was getting straight A's because I felt like I had to. I worked my butt off for those straight A's, whereas some people just had it naturally. And I remember thinking to myself, this can't be what life is all about.
Mm.
And at some point during working with, I think I've never even asked myself this question. I was in the middle of working at a great big multinational company who I will not name, P&G. So while I was working there, I was in the middle of a performance review, guys.
Oh.
And I looked at my manager and this feeling came over me like, I can't work here anymore. And before I could catch myself, the words came out my face.
Mhm.
I can't work here anymore without an alternative or anything. And
Yeah.
Jocelyn, I remember to this day, Jocelyn was my boss. She looked at me. This is 25 years ago, maybe even 30. And she goes, "What?" I said, "I can't be here anymore." She said, "Why? Do you have to go to the bathroom?" Do I need to get another chair for you? Are you uncomfortable? And I'm like, no, I literally can't be here anymore. I have to move somewhere else. It was like this internal knowing that wasn't even an intuition, it was full body.
Wow.
And that was my very first experience consciously of realizing that something less than rational was available to me. And that was my path to running the largest holistic nutrition practice in Canada, working with over 20,000 people, ending up being on television as an advisor to, breakfast TV in Toronto. All sorts of stuff happened because I followed that. And I didn't even know what it was. At some point in my career, though, I realized that I was looking at my clients and I was seeing them what others might call medically intuitively. So that's my first foray into intuition. Then I met a woman who's from Russia, who I've been talking about all weekend, who has now passed away, named Carola Barzak. And she tapped me into functional and applied kinesiology. And before long and if anyone doesn't know what kinesiology is, it's sort of using the physical body to be able to test whether something is a yes or a no. It relies on marrying your connection with the 99.139% of you that is metaphysical, that's non-three-dimensional. It relies heavily on the knowing that we are more made up of the smallest waveforms and gravitational pulls and particles of love than we are. 3D is just this very dense focal point of molecules that's like a house for the rest of us, and this playground for the rest of us. So kinesiology relies on this vehicle being connected to source. And before long, when I was using muscle testing, and just so you know how strongly my guides wanted me to get what we're talking about today, this falls under the category of you can't make this up, but I really feel like I should share. I was paired up with someone named Joy. She was from the same town I was from. There were 60 people in the room, and I was taking this program on developing your intuition through kinesiology. And this woman was testing me, and we were, I just finished testing her. We got to the bottom of some things about her body and her life, looking at root causes. And then she was testing me, and I started crying, and I didn't know why. And then I went back to her, testing. Something happened. I could see in late 1990s, and she's like, I said, and it was really emotional for you, and it's sitting here in your body. And I was using her body to show me where it was, and then asking her questions based on what her body was saying. And what came up was that her boyfriend had jumped off a major bridge in downtown Toronto and passed.
Oh my God.
And my jaw dropped, because no, that's not the punchline. My jaw dropped. I texted my husband and I said in my text, "Sweetie, when was it that you were driving down the Don Valley Parkway, the highway that goes under the bridge, that literally that man landed on your car?" So the woman I was testing in a room full of 70, who's a complete stranger, her boyfriend was the one. So I share this with you not to shock everyone. I share this with you because you have to understand how deeply we're being sourced and guided. And the only way that could have happened is through our natural state of magnetics. Things like that happen to me all the time. I'll share a story later, but my job here is not to get people to have better intuition. My job here is to help people embody their connection to source so deeply. My job on the planet, not my job in this conversation. So it will be my job in this conversation. Yes, both and, right? Is to assist people to actually get to the place where they become the walking receiver, not like like you become the walking meditation. I don't mean you become a receiver for information constantly. You would just be blown away by all the things that are available to us. In fact, some people listening right now might call themselves empathic and think like, I just received too much. And what I'm talking about here is grounded in the fact that we have the ability to thrive being sensitive. So some people are pushing it away. Some people are like, oh, like more. But there's a thriving way to be in touch with going direct with consciousness that has you answer the question, what's the greatest thing I can do with the least amount of effort that would have me living completely on purpose, making the biggest difference I can while waking up in the morning inspired. If you can live that life, as you're embodying that way of being in life, your ability to go direct becomes integral to living a fulfilled and meaningful life. Otherwise, everything becomes a struggle. So whether you're overly sensitive or whether you're someone who's like, I've got a little bit of intuition, but I really want to know more, this is kind of a conversation for all of you. So, yeah.
And Jennifer, my question, sorry for my lighting, but my question is, for someone like me that I just am where you were in that corporate space where I have had that. It was almost like you were saying my story, right? Like I can't be here, and it was like, peer review. And sorry, my manager was doing the review, and I was super anxious, and it was the week of, and it was one of those crux moments. And I've had this in the probably last two positions that I've had, right? And it's like, I know that there's a deeper calling for me, but is it easy? How is it? I want to make it easier to trust that. And I want to make it easier for maybe our audience to simply just be in that quantum leap. Like that sounds so juicy to me, but also terrifying.
Right. So much to say to that, gorgeous. I mean, Wonka, there's so much to say to that.
Like I wanted to cry again.
Yeah. Well, you're the perfect person to be interviewing because there's really, honestly, so many people feel like you. So here's the thing. Oh, gosh.
And wouldn't you say this is the time where we can't ignore it anymore? Like
We can. So
collectively.
actually, let's start there, Leonka. Let's start there.
Okay.
Let's start right there. In humanity right now, 2024 is the year, 2024 especially, is a year where the floodgates are opening. We're being provided an opportunity to be able to go direct with consciousness, especially the people that are looking to answer that question that I asked earlier. I call it the question. Like it's the first thing I wrote in the last book that I wrote called Unstuck. It's like, what's the greatest thing you can do with the skills you already have that would have you waking up inspired, such that you know that you left this planet with the contributions that you were designed to make. Like it's that fulfilling journey. This is the year to make the choice to do that. Okay. Which is, Jeneth, why you're where you are at, and Leonka, exactly why you're where, but what's available to us, right?
Right.
What's available is 5 years of intensity and polarity, whereby it was being amplified, and the differences between us were being amplified by news, by social media, by YouTube, by our cell phones. Every way you can imagine, we're being shown two very diverse ways of being. One way of being is to argue for our limitations and to argue with other people for our point of view, which literally keeps humanity going in a circle. As long as you're talking about what is and trying to be righteous about it, humanity never evolves. And then there's the rest of us. And if you're listening right now, I'm going to put forth an idea that you're part of that heaven on earth construction crew. You're part of the evolutionary design to build the new tomorrow. Not like a responsibility like that you get to, like that it's a privilege.
Yeah. Right? It's still terrifying. It's still
But wait, you're not alone, Leonka. It's right. It would be terrifying if you were the only one.
Right.
But
Right.
you've got to know, like, the entirety of probably Jeneth's, like you guys' audience, way more than half of those people are nodding their head going, yes, Leonka, yes, I know what you mean. But they're all feeling like you. And the same in our community. Oh my God, they're all, in fact, I would say in our community, they're all like, bring it. Where's the thriving operating system? Right? Like, I want to know how to do it. So let's go back to how it is right now. How it is right now is there has been all this polarity. Now, polarity for me, I don't know about you guys, but polarity for me is an asking. When life is problematic, when people are butting heads, when there are problems, what happens in physics, what happens in the land of the smallest particles of us, they respond to the polarity. What that means is, I can't wait to tell you this story. What that means is that one of the most important laws of physics is about entanglement. And an entanglement over here is a decision point, but that means that over there, that it means that another decision did not get made. Yep. So who we are decision makers about the future of humanity. Yeah. And the potential of that future was launched by the polarity. So think about it. This is what's going on, and what's launched into the future because of what we're arguing about and all the dissonance that's showing up is just this expansive heavenly flow that's ridiculous. And for those of us that choose heavenly flow, 2024 is the year that literally is the beginning of that heavenly flow. If you choose to don the thriving operating system, the thriving operating system is literally what I teach. I swear to God to you guys, I've been preparing for decades for this year to be able to bring people that operating system. And in that is included being able to go embodied direct with consciousness, not learning about intuition, actually living in such flow that you live in clarity in your presence as an embodied state. I see you do that a lot, Jeneth. So Leonka, here's the thing. Imagine that when we're in fear or when we're freaking out or when we're overwhelmed, because here's the beauty of you, and probably lots of people listening. The beauty of you, I can feel it. I see it in your hologram. I actually am looking at you. And in your hologram, 100% is this, you've got two things going on. One is, you know the potential for humanity. You can feel it. You can feel like a future calling you, right? Am I right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
So here's on the other side is that, so I want you to know that feeling of freaking out is real, but just breathe for a second. Okay. Just breathe. Okay. Back here, Leonka, is your greater guidance knows that you don't yet have all the skills associated with thriving at that level. And so what you're feeling is this future potential that your skill level, like in 3D, doesn't yet know how to get there. Okay. But okay, so just breathe with me because this is so good for everyone, Leonka. This is not just for you.
No, yes.
So think about this. The dissonance between the two. Consciousness never shows us a possibility that can't be fully realized.
Yes.
Okay. So if you can see it,
I know that
between the two, and I can feel you knowing that. But the feeling that you're calling freaked out and fearful and afraid and like, what am I doing? You know, that feeling is a misinterpretation. Just breathe for a second. Just breathe with me. Keep breathing. That feeling is a misinterpretation of the exhilaration and thrill that your higher consciousness has for the journey you're about to go on. And because you've never gone on this journey, you're interpreting the dissonance because higher levels, greater, the 99.139% of you that isn't even 3D,
Yeah.
all they're feeling is exhilaration, excitement. And then it comes to you because they can feel the full potential of the unfolding journey, but you don't yet see how that's going to work. So
Correct.
inside of you, it just feels like overwhelm and freaking out.
Right.
But that's a misinterpretation of your greater guidance's exhilaration. You get me?
Yes, that's it. That rings. Yes.
So can you
Yes.
let yourself know that?
Yes.
Yeah. And how
Yes.
does that feel?
Yes. It lands, it reads it. When you said those words, it was like, yes. And
So
when you,
that yes,
yeah,
just to be
yeah,
an example for everyone else. So there's your interpretation and it feels not so good. It feels overwhelming. That's
yes,
because your interpretation is incorrect. So when you feel overwhelmed or like some interpretation you have of a feeling you have inside, so you're giving words to a feeling you have inside, and the words are like, this is too much. I don't know how to do this. I'm going to screw it up. All the words that you give to it. But when you find someone that can holographically see, what happens is they're going to give you words that actually match what's really going on. And the instant they find the words in 3D, your body's going to find peace.
that's what I felt. Yes.
That is how intuition works.
And almost before you were even able to articulate back, and thank you for doing that, and for the audience, before you were even able to get your point out, I started to feel that feeling. I was like, oh my gosh, she's right. And it's not, and I got this flash. It's not, it's excitement. It's excitement, Leonka. However, those words that I interpreted it with are based on, and I know this because I've, been around a little bit, based off our old paradigms or beliefs, or I have to do it this way that I was taught, the straight A's way, right? And go to get a good corporate job. And so, trusting that fully.
Right. But look at you. But I want you to know that the feeling of excitement just opened you up to the pathway of actually embodying the steps that for in our work, there are eight aspects to that thriving operating system. When you embody that thriving operating system, what happens is you live in total flow. Like freak out doesn't happen. So you have 75 trillion cells. I mean, Jeneth has heard me say that a cajillion times if you've heard me say it once. But these 75 trillion cells have receptor sites on the outside of them that receive photon packages of light, Leonka. Photon packages of light, which is really funny because I was talking about orbs with a friend of mine, but it's not just orbs. Orbs are packages of light, but there are different formats they come in. So we emanate photon packages of light. And I'm not talking about, some people are already going to, oh, your aura. I want you to just stop. Don't try to interpret what I'm saying with what you already know. I want you to understand that there are packages of light that carry information about your entire history, like the bridges you've built to who you are now, the whole story of your life, that even the codes that are like the instruction manual for how you did it. And that's why each of us have specific clients and have specific people we should work with and have people in common sometimes because there's work we should do together, like right now, right? And so what happens is those codes are like little communicator sentinels, and they travel around the earth, and just breathe for a second, 7 times around the earth in a second. That's the speed of light. So you are communicating to 8 billion people and their 7.5 trillion cells at the top. So photon packages light from every one of those cells, and they're traveling around the earth 7 times in a second. So when people tell me it's not possible to change the world, forget it. Yes, it is. All you have to do is understand physics and math. Physics says, every change you make to up-level yourself is available to everyone. It doesn't mean they take it. They have to be ready. Doesn't mean they can hear it or feel it or see it. But the option is don't evolve yourself and then nothing will change. But when you think of all the people that we know that are evolving themselves, I just got really interested in how do you do it a lot faster? Like I'm all about the quantum leap. I'm all about I don't want to be the time right now is not for being linear. The time right now is to embody it's to all over the world. And I know you guys know this, but all over the world, it's not that the women should be at the forefront. It's that the divine feminine operates in a spiral non-linearly. And the non-linear operation, so imagine a spiral, okay? That's the way the feminine thinks. Everything is connected to everything. So I looked at the spiral and I went, why do you have to walk the labyrinth? Why can't you just jump to the next level and the next level and the next level and just go to the middle? And then once you're at the middle, why can't you find a spiral that's even bigger than that all these other spirals are connected to? So now you're going to quantum leap to the next spiral, like a whole other operating system. I want to know how to do that. And so think of AI, think of blockchain, right? Think of qubits.
Yeah.
Right? Those things are all another spiral. Well, we have to have, that's why, again, I go back to the thriving operating system. You have to have your intuition embodied to be able to live in that much flow.
One of the things that this is bringing up is really that comfort zone. Right? And like even like a paradigm of like lack, right? As soon as your brain, dives into the economy or thinks something like that, like your whole body, embodies lack, so to speak. And we're asking it to, stop that synapses in our brain so that we will embody, this new paradigm of what it means to go direct. Do you have another way to say that?
Yeah. And doesn't it when we're, it's so funny, you guys, I just got to say this completely off topic. Whenever I'm next to you guys, I'm like such a pasty white chick. So anyway,
well,
my Irish is showing. So it's so funny. So anyways, back to the topic. When we look at the economy is actually energetically doing incredibly well right now. It is doing incredibly well. However, the conversations about it are not doing incredibly well. And the polarity about it is not doing really well. Politics, that's not thriving either. The banking system is very, very messed up. There are obviously, there's so much wrong. I mean, it could go on and on and on, but it's not wrong. It's a catalyst. So, okay. So let's all breathe together for a second, because I'm going to kind of say something a little bit earth shaking.
Let's go.
Okay. So you've heard this before, but I am so passionate about assisting people to see how the laws of physics and math, the non-woo side of all the woo, the thing that explains it all. It's like very much like, it's very much like what Joe Dispenza sees as it, except coming at it from a very exponentially efficient approach, I would say, because that thriving operating system, only because it's more from the feminine approach. Every approach is needed. It's not like anything is less than anything else. I promise you, it's all everyone that's teaching fabulous stuff right now, man, are they being asked for? It's incredible.
Yeah.
So, but we've got this polarity, right? Got this crazy polarity. And then when you observe it, or you watch the news, or you do something, your mind will have a judgment or an assessment, or it'll trigger you to a fear that you have, and you'll start going down a grease line, slippery slope based on the neurosynaptic highways that you have that are associated with that trigger, right? You have some ways of
Yes.
thinking about that stuff that you're used to.
Yes.
Okay. So the first thing is, the laws of physics say that when you have polarity, it launches so much possibility into the future trajectory of humanity. It's insane. 1. 2, then you have to say, am I just on a grease line, slippery slope right now based on some patterns I have in my brain like a robot? I know it feels true, but isn't this just a pattern I triggered? So you got to ask yourself this question, because that is what happened, because it could be 5 minutes ago you were perfectly fine. Well, what happened? 5 minutes ago you were fine. Now you just focused on something else that triggered you, right? And it triggered all the feelings associated with all the habitual thinking, blah, 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 blah. Now, how humanity normally thinks, which is not quantum leap thinking, is how do I excavate the trigger so that I never get triggered again? It takes forever. Then you have to go to the triggers in all your past lives. You'll be analyzing yourself until you die. Okay? There's another way. So just because we've been doing it that way for decades, it doesn't mean, and by the way, it's mostly since Freud and Jung and all those people. It means we have to analyze living daylight out of it, even daylights out of it. Even the new age thinking now is just doing the analysis a different way. Physics says when you put your attention on the problem, you get more of it. It's not to say that things don't come up, that you want to do some energy work or something that actually moves it. When it really comes, but it shouldn't be the main way we move through our life. So what we want to do instead is we want to start to understand that all that stuff is waiting. Just like what you felt, Lianka, you were feeling that all this stuff is waiting and it's calling me. And now I'm freaking out because I don't feel like I have the wherewithal. I haven't embodied the operating system to be able to go there. But after we ask the first 2 questions, the next question is a different question. Then how do I transmute my trigger so I don't feel bad? The next question ought to be, how do I get myself to a good feeling place enough that I'm aligned with the frequency of the stuff that's waiting for me? And
I'll have that, please. Yes.
And then how do I master the art of doing what presents? So listen, let's all breathe together so that I can become the person with the skill sets that actually has that future as normal in my now. How do I retrain my biology? So can you see that that's an entirely different life? The life that says, how do I fix myself because I'm broken, leads down a certain path. And we think that if we fix all of our brokenness until the end of time, going down that slope, that somehow at the end of that is the rainbow, but at the end of that is not the rainbow. At the end of that is just more stuff to analyze. There is an endless supply of humanity's issues that are in your body. I'm asking us to say, yes, when the time comes, we can do that, probably about 10 to 15% of the time, but about 85 to 90% of the time. It's in 2024, this is the time to embody the thriving operating system and to embody your ability to go direct, such that the direction you see, a lot of people are even listening to this conversation about intuition, like, oh, if I had intuition, I would know how to fix my problems. And it's like, no, that is a survival-based operating system.
Mhm.
A survival-based operating system is someone consistently trying to fix themselves, that somehow in the fixing themselves, the clouds will just part and harps will play and you'll just be thriving. And that's not true. You have to actually learn to remember to thrive. You need to learn the skill sets like being able to go direct, which is the one we're talking about today.
Yes.
But also the skill set of being able to be in consistent receiving mode, the skill set of being able to activate a future and bring it into our biology now. There's 8 different skill sets as far as I can see so far in that operating system. And so as soon as we turn to that future and ask ourselves a far more important question, how do I get my frequency? 2 questions really. How do I get my frequency there to align with that future that's waiting? Secondly, and how do I, which leads to your biology. So in other words, those little photons that are coming out of your 75 trillion cells are now communicating at a frequency that is actually aligned with that. But now how do I 3-dimensionally, where do I go to 3-dimensionally learn the skills, right? To be able to go direct with consciousness. And the cool thing is it doesn't take that long. I mean, it might take a couple of years to be in real mastery, but it doesn't take that long compared to learning how to forget that you are that. You know what I mean? It's like, this is just really remembering something that you already knew. And these days, mentors matter a lot.
Mhm.
Like, this is a time, are you noticing this, Jeneth, where you don't want to do anything alone anymore? Do you notice that?
Well, yes. It's fun to play. It's
Yeah,
fun to play with others
right? So
but yeah, I did wanna kinda get you to expand more on becoming a new frequency, becoming, a new
a
vibe to put out in the
capacitor.
world. What's that? You're getting
It's
there?
a capacitor. So imagine that our bodies, okay, let's see if we can get this. And please, you guys, jump in and ask me a question, because I love the practicality of the question, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, let's look at how we all live now. Let's even, like, you guys can jump in. I'm going to say, like, how I had been living is, if I was going to do a talk, I would jump on a plane and, probably try to get some sleep, maybe do some work, this kind of stuff. It was sort of, I was surviving better than most people, but I was still surviving. I was still getting things done, trying to get somewhere, blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So in survival, what do you guys, and so my thinking was wired to be vigilant to, how do I get things done? How do I be more productive? How can I fix a couple of health issues? Who are my favorite chiropractors and these kinds of, so what
Yeah,
about
we
you
start
guys?
with problems,
Right,
right? It always
right.
starts with a problem. I
Yeah.
need to fix this problem.
Yes. Yeah. Because if I fixed it, we've been trained, if I fixed a problem,
Yeah.
then I'll be free at some point.
Yeah.
Correct?
That's me.
Okay.
Yes, I
Okay.
can relate with everything you're saying right there.
You got to fix your job, right, Lianka?
Yeah. Yeah.
You do the right job. Like, who am I on purpose? Like, all this stuff.
Yeah.
Those are all great questions. At least you're surviving better, because people who are in survival are like this all the time. Okay. So what you're talking about is surviving better, but that is not living in overflow of all things desired.
Right. And I
Okay.
know that. Like, my heart knows that. My soul knows
Yeah,
that.
I
Right. And it's like, oh, I know. Like, I can't, and it's now I can't even escape it. Like, now it's like, oh,
I started asking myself the question about 12 years ago. The question that Miss Jeneth is asking, well, like, what does it even mean to be what does it mean? What does that mean? How do you get your body to be like a channel for a different way of living? How do you rewire your physicality? So our natural state is to live in overflow of all things desired. On my way to where I am right now, because I teach that thriving operating system, I just, it's so, I can't even tell you, you are surprised and delighted around every corner. And the surprise and delight is so infectious that it's just, anyway, they get on the plane, sit down beside this guy. This guy is quite a big guy. And I just looked at him. He looked tired. I said, "How are you?" He said, "Fine." We started talking. And I've been working on a TED Talk. My TED Talk involves a middle piece that I haven't been doing very well at explaining, which is about math and physics, and you only have 18 minutes, right? So how are you going to do that? And I'm like, God, I need an expert somewhere who's going to help me. I started talking to this guy. I said, "So where are you going?" He told me. And then I said, "What do you do?" And he said, "Oh, I teach at university. I teach what's happening in the world right now around entanglement, the qubit computers, math and physics." And I'm like, shut up. But this happens.
Jennifer, that's such a cool way to live.
Imagine that but I want you to know that it's not for special people.
I know.
It isn't for special people. So it speaks to what Jeneth asked. Like, I could tell you this whole story. My dear friend's husband just passed, and I was on the plane to go and meet her. And we came across, oh, this is going to blow your minds, but it's okay. It again speaks to Jeneth's point. She pulled out a key. She had been in our advanced program called Flight School, and she pulled out this key that she got from Mount Shasta. But it was a key that was made out of a stone that was not carved. It somehow the water had done it to it. It looked like this ankh with a key on the bottom. It's weird. Mm-hmm. So she kept it. She pulls it out. We go into the forest, an old growth forest. We look up in the trees, and there is in one of the redwoods, there's a shape rotted out of the tree that's exactly the shape of her key.
Cool.
And we only got redirected to that tree because it was flooded. So we didn't go where the flood was. We went where the flood led us. Everyone up until that point had been talking to me about water and flooding and leaking and all this kind of stuff. And then I even had a flood in my bathroom.
Wow.
Out of there, and I'm like, what is going on? So we start talking, and her girlfriend comes over, and I'm like, I get it. The floodgates have opened in 2024.
Yeah.
And then she said, I keep coming back to this key. And I reached in my pocket. I was going to give her something. And I realized that I had a key to my hotel room, and it wasn't the past. They had actually given me a key. And I gave it to her. And then someone else gave her a key, and we all looked at them. And she said, I had a dream last night. And I said, what? And she said, the dream was that the key was embedded in my chest, that I am.
Wow.
And so what I want to say is the quantum leap for humanity right now, which is what I cannot tell you how impassioned I am to assist humanity about this and to teach the experience of it, is that you are the key. So imagine the distinction. So this is for you, Jeneth. This is for you. Imagine the distinction between you can always intuitively find the key. Just feel that out, you guys. Because that's pretty cool thinking. I can always find the key. My intuition has the clarity to always find the key. But think about the embodied state, which is really what I'm totally interested in. The embodied state is you literally are the key. You walk around already as the key. You don't need to look for keys. That takes too long. In a time where there's great fluidity and there is AI combined with, qubit computers that are based on entanglement theory, which, by the way, that guy completely explained how it worked to me. And I understood it, which is even more crazy. But this is us. This is where we have to be to flow this year, to flow. And what that means is, and again, a little mind-blowing, but just hopefully it doesn't. I would love to hear your feedback on how this feels, by the way. I'll give you one more piece to it, okay? But imagine that seeing your guides or hearing your guides is like the slow route. Then, in fact, embodied as your guidance realms is what real intuition is. You are going so direct that you're just playing with your knowing consistently, and it's just so darn fun. And that is the thriving operating system. It's a thing that can be experienced and taught such that you become. So the only reason I say this is because we've got to make sure that our future is aiming for the thing that is presenting right now. If our future is just aiming, I just want to see my guides, that's going to lead you to surviving better. If you make your intention that I want to embody my guidance realm, there's so many people out there who've embodied so much of their guidance. They don't know how to completely thrive that way, but they get guided and they do irrational, cool things all the time. And they're like, oh, I just want to hear and see my guides. I'm like, no, you don't. That would be like going backwards. That's like, you're already embodied in your guides. You don't need to see and hear them. That's just your humanness talking. You really want to start wanting to have that walking. Do I sound crazy to you guys?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Feedback on this.
Okay. So I just want to go first because, what comes up is there's, doing these series for so long and even me going through that like massive quit. I even feel that quit when I said, nope, time to let this go,
right,
was for me to take rest and recalibrate my internal frequency so that I could attract the right, the right group and audience and the way I really wanted it out there. Yeah. It was just starting to get to be too much what you just said, those people that are like, hey, I just want to talk to my guides, instead of them actually really coming from this, like, I am everything. Yes. I am oneness. And from this area and from this frequency, I want to be this bigger contribution to the world. Yes. And guide me with awareness and guidance to get there. I think that's what I want to grow with this group, with this interview series, is people that really are like, universe, take me, I'm ready. And I will contribute by being my greatness, by being my innate genius.
Totally. We are all being dreamt by a dream, and we have been from the time we were born. We are being dreamt. And the thing is, it's not that we have to ask our higher levels, our greater guidance to guide us. It's that we have to be available for the guidance that's already there. It's not just available. We have to be able to interpret it. Like I said, there's an operating system. There are skill sets. So when you say I had to recalibrate, your question was so good because it's recalibrating, but how you recalibrate is you do something. This is just what we do in our work, is you learn your innate abilities. You start to understand the innate abilities that make you a conduit between heaven to earth, which rewires your biology to be a walking conduit, which doesn't mean you're having intuition all the time or you're supposed to be psychic. It's whatever you do. You could be a doctor or a dentist or a CEO or a mom or a teacher. It doesn't matter what you are. Whatever your vehicle is for being dreamt, your ability to go direct causes quantum leaps and builds bridges to a new tomorrow. The bridges that the other side is waiting in that warehouse over there. And the people who are going to thrive the most and have the most fun in these times are people that allow themselves to take that journey, to really, nothing thrills me more than to take people on that journey. Truly, it is a takeable journey for anyone. We are not special.
Yeah, it's actually easier than
it is
than not.
I know, right? It's like, because the other way is resistance, and it feels terrible, and it feels hard. Yeah. It feels overwhelming, like Lianka was talking about. It's
yes, like, yes. I can't choose that. Yes, right. I don't choose that. Right? No más. No more. Jennifer, is that what you help people teach? Is that what you teach people to do?
It is literally
how do we work? How do we learn this with you, or where do we journey with you? Maybe it might be a good way to segment.
And
segue
yeah,
into
tell
sharing
us
that.
about the free masterclass, and
Yeah,
maybe
Yeah.
even a nugget of where that
because
leads.
I'm a yes. I'm like, yes.
Yeah, I want you guys both to come. So the free masterclass is about upgrade your intuition to that embodied state. It become the walking intuition. It's happening on February the 8th. It's free. I'm doing it for free because I want to make sure that we are activated to that future potential so that so what we're going to be doing there is activating our biology to already be used to that overflow that's available when we're available to our greater knowing in a much deeper way. So the exercises we're going to do and the experience we're going to go on, first of all, is going to be to upgrade the biology, because if you can't upgrade the biology, the photons that you give off are based on your current now. And we want to communicate to consciousness that you're interested in that future where, it's kind of like sitting next to that guy on the plane, but that happens to me all the time. So that being a new normal. So we're going to do what I call new normalize it. We're going to upgrade your biology. The second thing we're going to do is we're going to open the doorway to embodiment of all the other aspects of intuition, what the skill sets are to be able to go direct, so that we open the portals to that so your biology can also catch up to that. Then we're going to take one form of intuition that has to do with the clarity to know what to do next. There's other kinds of intuition, but this one is just about, like, on your path, how can you consistently know what to do next? What are the ingredients to be an Olympic athlete of clarity on what to do next? That's not like, we're not talking about, we do in other places talk about this, but not on this course, because this is the one I find most people are really interested in. Like, I just want to not be frustrated and struggle. There's other ones like connecting with loved ones or talking to dead people, or, there's all that kind of stuff, which we also do, but that's not this program. We'll activate that, though. We will definitely activate those parts of your intuition. So that's what we're going to be doing. And by the end of that program, the intention is to do what took me 15 years in an hour and a half.
How lucky are we? Maybe it's not luck.
No, you literally are magnetic to it. It's like you have to be one of those people that has looked down and went, it's time. It's like, I'm just over it. It's time. I want that. Whatever she's talking about, whatever Jeneth did, I want that. I want to have that experience. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like it's a constant practice for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And sometimes my vigilant system will get like all tangled up in something that somebody else has said. And it'll be like, oh, I just bought the lie that they're believing. And
yeah.
Once I get that, it's cleared, but it takes me a minute that I get all twisted.
So imagine that this is your next glass ceiling, Jeneth. Like, I love that you're saying that. Everyone right now is looking at their own glass ceiling. Like, Lianka, you spoke about it earlier, right? One of yours. I have them too. Trust me. I've got people like that guy was sitting beside, and someone had asked me, it's like, oh, can you work with me on this great, big, huge, like, global project? And I thought, my personality went, no. No, I cannot. And then I went, Jennifer, this is what you've been literally you're asking yourself, what is the greatest thing I can do with the skills I have? What did you expect to happen? Right. So now there's a whole level of becoming that I have too. So I'm always on the journey with our clients. I'm always side by side. We are in this together. It's just, but anyways, this is a glass ceiling to a becoming, because imagine, Jeneth, on the other side of like those little things that people like me, and then you have a resonance somewhere in your cells with that thing. It's like, and then You just temporarily go down, might be a minute, but it might be 2 hours, or it might be a day. And then you just do whatever you do. But as you learn how to embody, what happens is, this is going to sound really crazy, but you do it on other subjects, Jeneth. I know you do. So imagine that there's a way to hear that person like, oh, there's incongruence there. I wonder how I can assist them. Is this about assistance? Is this a redirect, or are they just not my person? And there's absolutely no entanglement whatsoever. And what we're doing, you guys, over time is learning how to embody who we're becoming so quickly, transcend that glass ceiling so quickly. Ultimately, when I'm with the thing that interested me for myself, which is why I teach it, interested me for myself was I want to embody the ability to embody, so that it doesn't matter what the glass ceiling is, I can make that evolution quite quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And that way, however consciousness is expanding, I'm always in the floodgates, like I'm always riding the wave. And I'm finding that it is rare that stuff, I know it's rare for you too, but I already know you're already one of those badass seekers, both of you. And probably everyone listening is a badass seeker on some phase of your journey. It doesn't matter where you're at. That's the other thing I want to say. It does not matter. People catch up to this so quickly, whether they feel like totally inept, or like, oh my God, this is too much. These people are, too advanced for me. Trust me when I say I feel like a freaking 7-year-old when the things present to me, because I still feel just as junior as anybody else does. It's just different glass ceilings, right? So different,
Yeah.
but it's the same.
There's so much this frequency of gratitude, though, when those things happen too.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, you actually are listening and paying attention and guiding.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that is the fuel to keep that going too. I have a good friend, and she's constantly complaining, almost to the point that I'm like, can she still be a good friend? Because she's just like, things are never going right, never going, and she knows this work. And I'm like the constant, like I'm like, what is the thing called, what that you use when you make music? Momentum.
Oh, the thing that goes click, 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 click.
I feel like I'm that for her. Because
Yeah.
I'm constantly just that guiding rhythm in the back that's like, stop. Let's just be grateful for what did go right and what you did have. And and I think that switch is really hard for people to take sometimes.
And that's okay, because when you're on this journey, it also is really important to have community of other people that are on the same journey.
Yeah.
Because it reminds you that you're not cray cray, and it reminds you that that it's okay that it goes up and down, and it does that for the best of us. Mm-hmm. And it's also great to have a little bit of guidance from our earth angels. And and then we can go out into the world once our souls have been fed by the journey that we're on. It's like, oh yeah, I'm back in thriving and overflow. I've just been reminded of who I am and where this is all going. And then we go back out into the world. And then you can give, I think Lisa from The Secret said this. She said, I give from the overflow from my teacup,
You say that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's like, give from the overflow of your energy.
That makes sense. Yes.
From your overflow,
Talk about somebody who's really grateful and had Lisa Nichols.
Yes.
She really started with a really rough life.
Yeah.
And now she's just like lives in this flow of joy and gratitude constantly. And you know that changes lives.
And she had to go through she's a teacher. I'm a teacher. A lot of teachers like us go through the eye of the needle. I certainly did. I have almost died 5 times. We're not talking about that today because we were talking about intuition.
We talked about that on another interview, though.
Right. But in almost having died, I can tell you that the choice to fully be here that came from almost dying is what gave me access to the superpowers that humans have. And I wouldn't give it up for the world. And I suspect neither would she. Well, I've spoken with her on stage, and that's literally what she says. So,
that is true. I've had her on an interview, and that is how she is. Like everything that has happened to me or created by me has brought me to where I am.
Yeah, it is. And in order to teach it, some of us go through a little extra intensity to make sure that we really have it in ourselves.
Yeah.
When we're speaking, sometimes people hear, this is an interesting thing, you guys. Sometimes when people hear me, it's like there's an intensity that they misinterpret as like maybe a push or like overly zealous or something. And it's like, no, when you know how this works, like in your cells, there is a part of, and there's a part of me that's just like, oh, how do I just want to blurt it out, but you can't. You have to bring people on the journey across the bridge. And as they go on the journey, they'll infect themselves with the passion. At the beginning, though, sometimes it needs someone who's embodied it to actually give you the skills to break your glass ceiling. And that's a really important, that's why right now is a time not to have independence disease. Stop trying to do it yourself, because we're quantum leaping, and these quantum leaps take a different mind and a different beingness to bring you across. You got to find the people that are going across the bridge at light speed, and the people that are good at being able to show you, so it's a time not to be alone in this, because everyone can thrive so much faster than they used to. Like I said, like 10 years in an hour and a half, like really not a pitch, really an hour and a half. It took me 10 years to come to this stuff I'm going to be teaching, it's like, that's how fast it's happening. So yeah, so cool.
All right. So give us 5 more bullet points that are going to happen in the February 8th class, because now we've re-talked over it all, and I want it at the end. And then you guys, I'll give you the link. It'll be below. Wherever you're watching this, it'll be below.
Yes. So the things that are going to be taught in that upgrade your intuition to embody it, that program is first and foremost getting your biology caught up to that future. We're going to do future activations in the now, I call it, whereby your biology will actually, your mind first, but then your biology will specifically hook into the future trajectory about love, about money, about all of these things. When you're going direct with consciousness, then we're going to bring those knowings back into your biology now, and your biology is going to start to shift. And then I'm going to give you a special exercise to keep the momentum going. So that's one thing. The momentum going in the direction of being able to go direct with consciousness, embodied in your presence, having the answers come to you as a knowing, rather than an intuition that just hits you on a special day at a special time, like just being that way. So the second thing we're going to do is we're going to be working together to understand the different forms of intuition. And we're going to do something whereby you're actually going to realize how intuitive you've already been being, that probably you've been doing without you knowing, such that you can open the floodgates for yourself. Because once you realize you've already been doing this, right? Once you realize you've already been doing this thing, then all of a sudden you don't have to go, oh, I'm not like that. You have been like that. And
Right.
almost everybody in the world does this thing that I'm going to describe in the course.
Okay.
The third thing we're going to do is we're going to actually talk about the process of embodiment so that we future activate what embodiment is like. So what does that feel like? What are the steps necessary? How do you get to this place where you have that spiral jump I talked about earlier?
Yes.
Where
Yes.
you don't have to walk the whole spiral. You could just walk straight through the spiral to the middle without spiritually bypassing anything. You actually embody the different things before anyone gets all weird. Okay. But you get to the middle and you actually are looking for the spiral that the center of this spiral and all other spirals have created. Right. So you're going to a much bigger operating system.
Yes.
I'm going to show people how you do that. Like, what does that actually mean for your life? Then I think what I'm going to do is also, I'm pretty sure I'm going to do this because it always comes up in this kind of workshop, is people being able to see where they are on the spectrum of surviving better, and thriving, and being very specific about what the difference is between the three so that you can start to future activate whatever leaps you need to make in love, relationships, communication, money, overflow of anything desired. So once you can identify where you're at, we can start to future activate what's next. And it's a really cool tool. So we're doing all of that in an hour and a half, talking about the physics of why we can do it so quickly and activating people so that their biology can catch up to anyone can do this. Again, I can sort of feel how people, it's like, oh, I have to do a lot more work on myself before this. What I'm saying is actually this transcends the need to do a lot of work on yourself, because this workshop will have you see yourself as consciousness, have the experience of seeing yourself as consciousness does, so that as you look back at all those issues you're working through, you'll already have a higher view, greater wisdom about what you're going through, so that it'll move much faster from that higher frequency rather than trying to excavate it from the frequency of the problem. So.
Lovely.
Yeah, no, that
so fun.
yeah,
right.
It's February 8th. What is the time that it is at, Jennifer?
Like, I don't even want to wait.
Doing my sweet happy dance. The time, I believe I don't want to say the wrong time, but hold on, and I will get the exact time. One moment, please.
The date and time will be below this.
Yeah, well, it's February the 8th, and I'm going to February the 8th in my calendar, waggy tail. And so February the 8th, so we're going to February the 8th, and I will tell you right now, that workshop is at 3:30 Eastern time on Thursday the 8th.
Fabulous. So
okay. 3:30 Eastern time on Thursday the 8th. There will be a replay, but I really recommend, as much as you can, rearrange your life so you can be there, so that I can take you through the exercises live. You could do them on replay, but it's just more funner.
Yes, it is.
Do this stuff live.
Just this time with you today has been so much fun. I feel, just me personally, feel so opened, and just just supported. Like it's so cool to know that this is the time. This is, I'm not the only one, and this really can be a way of living. Like, it really can be just a fun way of being.
Yeah, it's not, and it's not for the special people.
Right.
Control
it's
freak.
for them too, but it's for all of us,
Yeah, it's for all of us. That's so fun. Like, that's so magical.
I was an economist. Come on. And an accountant. Like, seriously. Anyone can do it. I was an economist.
I love that.
I was a nutritionist.
That too. Yeah, I get it, dude. I get it.
All right. Any last words?
Yes. I would say that we're all in a time of great change. It's going to start changing faster. It's going to come to a point where the polarity is just too much to even focus on, where you want to go under your covers.
Mm-hmm.
What I recommend, or what I see, is that that's happening on purpose so that you have no choice. It's either go under the covers or face forward towards the bridges that you want to build and become the person that you were born to be. Those will be the choices, and it'll be so blatant. My request is that you don't wait until the polarity is so overwhelming, that you actually face the direction of the future that's calling you and listen to that little voice that's saying it's time, but do it now instead of having to go through the struggle and the pain like so many of us have had. It's unnecessary. So that's what I would say.
That's perfect. All right. Well, you guys, thank you so much. This is now the Hot Hustle Haven, you guys. And we will continue to do these calls on a regular basis. The link to join the live calls and everything will be below as well. So if you're ever looking to get notifications or get on the newsletter list, look for that as well. And that's all. I guess we're out. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.